Good morning, Eorzea, and welcome back to another video of lore on my channel, Mangek Your World, with my character here, Amadeus Aeon. It's been a while since I've done one of these, I realize, so I want to apologize for that in advance. There's been a lot of complications, you know, with my game itself and, you know, just with my health in general. I'm a kind of a asthmatic type of person, so like I can get really sick very easily from, you know, just anything toxic or bacteria, fungus in the air can get me really sick really fast. So I want to apologize for that absence that I've been on my YouTube channel here, and also want to apologize that I haven't gotten to my karaoke Friday segment just yet. Like I said, there's been kind of some problems here and there going on and such, so it is what it is.
Hello.
But good morning there. Hi. Might want to mute that little chat thing though, since we're doing a lore video. Sorry about that. Okay. Back with that. Just these little things I forget to check when I start a stream, kinda. It kinda grows there. Or I, you know, get forgetful and whatnot. But anyway, just to kind of summarize where we're at and from the last video that I made of the story of Amadeus Aeon. My character had just barely arrived in Limsa Lominsa and got a little acquainted with some of the locals. You know, joined the adventure guilds, you know, the common story that we're all used to knowing and loving. And basically my character said he was looking around for his dad, which is Brer Amadeus Aeon. Yeah, that's where my character gets his name from. His father, his name. But yeah, so Amadeus Aeon, my character, searching around Limsa, asking questions surrounding his father and whatnot, and this got him into contact with the Rogues Guild of Limsa Lominsa, where he meets Captain Jack, who's the current leader of the Dutiful Sisters, and he explains that he is well acquainted with Amadeus's father, and that he even trained underneath him at the time when he knew him. So, and also, of course, there's a little bit of a segment with another character that we all are familiar with, that being Thancred. However, in this portion of Amadeus' story, we haven't quite met Thancred yet, so, but we're getting there. Getting to the science segment here. But in any case, we'll get right started right from where we left off. So feel free, if you know you need to grab a drink or something to snack on while you're watching and enjoying the story that I have to tell. And without further ado, we'll get right into it. Though I was comfortable and cozy in the city of Limsa, I knew I couldn't remain here forever, and I needed to find my father post-haste. And so, I would take on multiple leads in regards to my father's whereabouts, but so far the leads were very short-ended, and they would not lead me any closer to finding my father. While I continued my search on the field, I was contacted by Badaron, who said he had a delicate matter which he wished me to look into. And so I took on this request, and it turns out that they were having a bit of a problem with piracy in the area. And so I was sent to investigate, along with a Charlayan scholar by the name of Y'shtola. I didn't quite see Y'shtola around, so I continued investigating on my own, questioning farmhands and the like, to see what they knew of the incidents occurring. To my dismay, however, not many were very willing to talk about the piracy issue. However, there was one fellow who was under suspicion, and so myself and another adventurer accompanying me elected to follow this lead and find out what this suspicious character was up to. As we continued our investigation, we found, however, that the suspect was very elusive and avoided answering our questions altogether, until a certain incident occurred from which my adventure companion explains that he found the suspect and the suspect had him attacked, which leads me to believe then that he was this suspicious character is indefinitely in league with the pirates. So I asked him where he was last seen. He said, pointed me into the direction east in lower or middle Lunacha, sorry. And from there I began to follow his tracks. The trail led far westward, and eventually it came to an end at an alcove. Upon arriving, we heard what sounded to be a bit of a struggle. I swiftly moved in cautiously and carefully to the scene, to which our suspect man was speaking with a band of tattooed pirates. These pirates said they had arranged a deal with our suspect man, that he was supposed to bring some of his crew from the farms directly here to this alcove to be used as sacrifices to the primal Leviathan. Not wishing to adhere to their demands, however, our suspect man had a bit of a change of heart and decided to oppose rather than serve these brutes. At this moment, I could hear some weird utterances from the shadows, and right next to the band of pirates arose a stone giant. This giant would have most likely have crushed our suspect man had my companion and I not rushed to the scene and defended the man, and as well as defeat the golem. The pirate, however, had fled us, so we had lost our lead there. But as a better note, the scholar Y'shtola had appeared to the scene to our aid and began to share with us the info that she had collected. She had revealed that, in fact, those pirates were indeed behind the recent piracy activity and kidnappings in Limsa. And furthermore, that these band of pirates were called the Serpent Reavers, thus confirming that they were indeed thralls to the primal Leviathan, as well as the Sahagin, a tribe of beasts like men with scales and gills. Left behind was a message in pirate code that we couldn't really decipher, me and Y'shtola. So instead, she entrusted the message to me and me pass it on to Commodore Raynor of the Yellow Jackets. Raynor confessed, however, he was unaware of what language that the message was written upon, and so I asked my companion where else we may look, and he suggested that I take it over to Baderon. And imagine my luck, however, of course, Baderon knew exactly what the message had read, saying that it was written in the language of the Sahagin. It had seemed that the Sahagin were planning to assault a small settlement in Western Lenotia. And so in order to prevent this, my comrade decided he would go on ahead to investigate this small village and see if there was any suspicious activity. Meanwhile, I was asked to assist Y'shtola in another matter, a recent etheric disturbance, you could say. Me and Y'shtola followed the etheric trail using her etherometer goggles that she carries along with her at all times, and found that the disturbance was in a deep cave, not too far from the Summerford Farms. Upon arriving to the scene, me and Nishtol are faced with a lone and lofty adventurer carrying an axe. We are curious to what he was doing in this area, for this appeared to be a shrine of sorts. The adventurer had told us that he was investigating more piracy under Badaron's orders. As we continued our conversation, we came to an abrupt halt when a rampaging Gobu came rushing down at us. We quickly defended ourselves and managed to fend the creature off, to which Y'shtola briefly put a sleeping spell on it to calm it down. Allegedly, the beast's rampage was caused by a peculiar-looking blade. Y'shtola informed me further investigation would need to be taken, and so she entrusted the blade to me to ask around the dutiful sisters whence the blade would have came. On our way out, however, our lofty axe-wielding adventurer collapsed suddenly. I found myself, too, falling into a sort of state of unconscious alongside him. It was like we were in a waking dream, both me and this adventurer. There we saw the pristine crystal shining brightly, and it spoke, just like the crystal from my dreams, beckoning us to its call, and suggesting that we use a blessing of sorts bestowed by none other than the crystal itself to guide the realm to prosperity and safety. When we both came back to our senses, it was something of a mystery on how to explain it to Y'shtola, who was quite dumbfounded as to why we both suddenly fell unconscious. No doubt me and this axe-wielding adventurer, the destinies would be intertwined with one another. And so we kind of formed a little bit of a bond, you could say. In furthering the investigation, we revealed that the knife was used by one of the Serpent Reavers. But something peculiar about this knife was that it had a cursed spell placed upon it. Most likely a mind controlling magic used to send the beast after us. Little could be done. However, my other companion, who had went to investigate the village, had sent out a message of distress, saying that the village would be set ablaze by the Serpent Reavers. I had elected to take charge myself, however. The axe-wielding adventurer said there was no need, and that he would go in my stead. So I entrusted the task to him. Elsewhere, I heard in Morabay docks there were more pirates skulking around. So I went to the Morabay docks myself to investigate the situation there. While I was there, I had learned that there was a pirate skulking around the outskirts. And I went to question this man, to which he said there would be a reckoning upon the shipyard. I went to inform the deckmaster immediately. He confessed that the pirate was his father, and I condoned his grievance, of course, since I too had an unstable relationship with my father as well. It turns out that the deckmaster's father was launching an attack. I immediately informed the local maelstrom officer nearby. We'd both decided we would defend the Morabay docks as best we could. And defend it we did, bringing the pirates to justice along with their Sahagan masters that accompanied them. Elsewhere, I heard news of the axe-wielding adventurer's triumph back in the western side of Lenocia. Only he had a much rougher fight, so Y'shtola reports, and that they'd come across a figure in dark robes, to which Y'shtola called an Aeon. This is the first time I'm hearing of these Aeons, and it would probably not be the last. It seems that these Aeons are sowers of chaos, creating strife and misery wherever they go. But I thought perhaps to myself, maybe it might be worth investigating these Aeons and seeing if they might know anything about my father's whereabouts. Y'shtola, of course, cautioned against this course of action, saying that the Aeons work mysteriously and in the shadows of the void. So I ceased my investigation for now on the Aeons and decided to continue the search for my father. However, the search was kind of interrupted as the Admiral herself, Merwell Blufiswin, had invited myself, my adventure companion, and the axe-wielding adventurer to a feast, heralding the honor of Limsalomensa's prosperity as well as to celebrate our heroic deeds as adventurers. I was not one to want to stop with my investigation there. However, Balderon was very insistent that I go to this banquet anyway. So I reluctantly agreed and went to the feast. alongside the axe-wielding adventurer and my traveling adventure companion. The feast was quite elaborate, very fancy for Limson standards. The Admiral herself addressed us all, and particularly she felt the need to talk to the axe-wielding adventurer himself. And what they discussed, from what I overheard, was the crystal which this warrior was carrying on his person. It was very luminescent and shining brightly with light, the likes of which the realm has not seen in what would be 20 years. As the Admiral explained it, the crystal was a gift from Mother Heidelin, the great crystal which appeared within my dreams as well as the adventurer's dreams. She implored this warrior to keep the crystal safe, and that it would be a guide to him on his path. She had begun to briefly explain a story from the calamity and the horror which the dread dragon Bahamut brought upon the realm of Eorzea. The story itself was quite frightening, and honestly, it kind of sent flashbacks in my mind of a dream I had as a child of the fiery battlefields and the sky lit ablaze. I couldn't help but wonder if the two were connected in some way, but just as I thought this, I fell unconscious again. And there I was seeing memories of the Admiral. Memories of her time on Cartano. That most horrific battlefield. In this vision, I came to see a dark-robed figure, which I could only assume was the Aeons that Stola had mentioned. It seems that they were indeed nefarious and planning something quite dastardly. While in this vision, however, I couldn't help but seem to glimpse what seemed to be the visage of my father. I wanted to call out his name, however, I only end up waking from the dream. Thus the vision ended. And a question lied in my head. Was my father partaking of the Battle of Cartano that day? Wishing to know more answers, I sought audience with the Admiral. The Admiral had instructed me to meet her at Maelstrom Command, to which I followed suit. Here at Maelstrom Command, she explains to me what happened in detail that day on that great battlefield of Cartano, and how my father was involved. As she put it, my father was working alongside a special task unit known as the Circle of Knowing, which was founded by a man named Louis Levieur. Within the Circle of Knowing, my father played a key part, being the Admiral saying, my father possessed a special power, a power which granted him immunity to the primals, as well as be able to stare into the heart of a man's soul. This was quite interesting to me, and I wasn't sure what to make of it. The Admiral complimented me, saying that I shared similar characteristics with my father, saying that she believed that I may well have inherited this gift from him. Curious, I pressed for answers. Are there others like myself, Marlif, and that axe-wielding adventurer with this ability? The Admiral nodded quietly before answering. She said there exists an organization known as the Scions of the Seventh Dawn, and that this organization was devoted and tasked with protecting the realm from any dangers that beset it. She said this organization my father belonged to before it became known as the Scions, and suggests that if I wish to find more answers, then I should go forth there and seek them out and ask for the answers I'm looking for. When asked where I should start, she said there was no need, and that her contact in the Scions would meet me in the desert of Thanalan. At a place that is called Vesper Bay. Mulrib wrote up a special pass for me to take use of airships and the ferry. She said the ferry would probably be the quickest route, so I decided to take that post-haste. This area of Thanalan was quite different from Lominsa. The air, you could tell, was dry and coarse, and the heat quite overbearing. I decided to take a look around the area before meeting up with the contact that the Admiral was using in the Scions. Just as I was coming to a halt, a familiar voice called out from behind me. I turned to the direction, and there was Y'shtola, the scholar from Linsa Lominsa. I'd asked her what she was doing in this area and if she had business as well. She nodded and said yes, her business was in fact with myself. I was a bit taken aback by this, and she said that I was looking for the Scions, of course, and that she could get me in with them. So I decided to follow her to the home and base of operations of the Scions. This place known as the Waking Sands. Upon going through, we spoke with a tiny Lullafellan girl by the name of Tataru. It seems I wasn't the only one to arrive here, as Y'shtola and I were making our way to the Solar. We also came across the axe-wielding adventurer once again. So we stepped inside this office of the Scions, and we were introduced to the leader of the Scions, Minfilia. Minfilia was quite an interesting woman to me. I could tell there was something different, something unique about her. And it wasn't until she revealed to me and the axe-wielding adventurer that she had a similar gift and power as ours, to which she called the Echo, that I began to see why she was so important a figure in the Scions. She implored us to join her cause, insisting, of course, that the Echo is the key to saving this realm. When asked if we would join, I was quite hesitant to give a sturdy answer, however, as I had my own agenda of trying to seek out my missing father to think of. Sensing that my mind was weary of this, she assured me that my duties within the Scions would not interfere with any other personal duties that I had set forth on. So with that in mind, I decided that maybe it would be worthwhile to enlist myself among the Scions. Minfilia was delighted that I decided to join the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. She said each of us would have our own different set of tasks to see to. And that only the most dangerous of tasks would be entrusted to elite adventurers within the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. We came to a back room area, to which Urianger, another Charlayan scholar, foresaw over, and met countless other adventurers with similar gifts to my own and the axe-wielding adventurer. Everyone was quite a unique personality here, Each had their own dreams, their own aspirations to seek after, but they were all united in one purpose, and that is the safety and security of the realm of Eorzea. This place, which my father had once called home, before he came to meet my mother over in Othard. On the note of this axe-wielding adventurer, there was something very special about him. I don't quite understand what it was with him, but somehow just being around him made you want to do better, made you want to strive for your goals. His confidence beamed brightly in the room like a beacon. It was an odd feeling to me, but it was comforting nonetheless. There was no doubt that this axe-wielding adventurer would accomplish great things and be a very strong leader in the days to come. I couldn't help but wonder if my father was the same way in this organization. Only having his journal to go off of, I've learned that he did have quite a few close allies within the Scions. One of which being the illustrious and valiant Thancred, whom I decided to catch up with when I had the chance. Thancred was shocked to hear the name of Aeon, recalling how he knew of an old salty dog by the name of Brer, Amadeus Aeon. To which I said, yes, that was indeed my father. He was astonished, but also somewhat melancholy. I had asked Thancred if he knew what happened to my father. Sadly, he said he did not, and that my father's fate was as of yet unknown, for there were countless lives that were lost on Cartano, or those who disappeared, such as the famous and most glorious heroes of that era, the Warriors of Light, who also disappeared without a trace. Hearing the story of these Warriors of Light had me having some hope that my father yet still lived, and that I should try to definitely keep my search going for my father. An urgent task came the following week. There was severe primal activity happening within Thanalan. We were told that the primal Ifrit was summoned by the Almalja beastmen in southern Thanalan. These Amalja were savage and warlike according to the Alamegans, a group of desert dwellers whom we spoke with in our investigations. The investigation was led by the axe-wielding adventurer. Whilst the axe-wielding adventurer was continuing his investigation elsewhere in Danalan, I decided to conduct a more keen observation up close. With my knowledge and prowess in the ways of stealth, from which I learned from the Rogues Guild, I decided to infiltrate their holy land known as Zaharak. On my way going through, sorry I had to dismiss the chocobo there. As I was making my way through, there was a small group of Amalja leading what appears to be a small group of hostages into an area. I decided to proceed with all due caution as I followed this group deep within Zaharak. The group of Amaljas, along with their hostages, stopped in a wide open area deep within Zaharak. In this area, it was there that I witnessed the horrendous and terrifying summoning of their god, Ifrit. His fury was like the blazing heat of the sun, burning and scorching everything in its path. The hostages that were with the Amalja begged and pleaded for their lives to be spared, insisting that they please be released from the wrath of Ifrit. However, the primal was not so benevolent, and what I thought was going to be their deaths somehow was not their deaths, but rather something else entirely. They were hit by his breath, fire breath, but they were not harmed. However, their personalities were very different. It is as if the flames completely brainwashed who they were They were no longer themselves, and instead they began to worship Ifrit. This set cause for alarm for me. I decided it was best that I flee and report my findings. Thancred, however, was already at the scene with me and decided to help me take a shortcut exit out of Zaharok. However, we found that the shortcut was being heavily guarded now as well. And so we had to fight our way out of the area of Zaharok. I had asked Thancred what would be the best way to proceed. He suggested that I return to the Waking Sands for the moment and report to Minfilia. This I did, though I further suggested that we rescue those hostages. But Thancred said it was already too late for them, and that there'd be no rescue for them, but rather only a massacre. I wasn't quite sure what he meant by this until much later. Nonetheless, I carried out my task, and thus our mission to halt the summoning of Ifrit was sent into motion. To our dismay, however, this mission quickly grew into a rescue mission, for the axe-wielding adventurer had found himself caught up in the affairs of a scoundrel who was trafficking people to the Amalja. All our forces were immobilized immediately here into the southern Thanalan. We worked hand in hand with the Immortal Flames, the Grand Company of Thanalan. Working together with the Flames, we managed to divert most of the Amalja's attention and send another force to infiltrate deeper inside the confines. Myself and a small band of adventurers were sent as a diversion team. We diverted the enemy's attention long enough for them to secure the rescue of the adventurer. The axe-wielding adventurer. Sorry. We were then given the order to retreat and then rendezvous back in Little Alamigo. I wasn't there personally to witness the horrific fight between this axe-wielding warrior and the primal Ifrit. When I asked him, he said it was a true struggle, and one of his most hard-fought battles thus far. Having witnessed that horrific power myself before we went on this rescue mission, I believe that his words were indeed the truth. Soon after, the word that Ifrit was slain by the axe-wielding adventurer became widely known, thus giving him the title and nickname of Icon Slayer. Similarly, being called Ifrit's Bane in Thanalan. The Grand Companies also didn't fail to recognize this accomplishment, and had sent officers along to court the man into their groups. The cause for celebration was indeed in order, for we averted a potential crisis. However, Thancred wasn't convinced that the crisis was truly over, and suggested that the Aeons had a hand in this. And so, pleading with Minfilia, he wanted to investigate the Aeons a lot more closely. Something I had originally wanted to do from the start, but had been refused by Yashola, as she heeded that the dangers were much too great. I had confronted Thancred and asked him, while he was under the investigation, if he could see into the matter of my father. He gave me a confident smile and nod, saying he would indefinitely see if there was any connection. This put my mind at ease, and for a time I could focus on my other duties at hand. I received a summons by the Admiral to return to Limsa Lominsa. It seems a memorial celebration was being held to honor those who fought and fell from the calamity. And the Admiral insisted that my presence being there would inspire others to rise up and in remembrance and follow the callings and examples of the warriors of light. To which, of course, I suggested to her, would it not indeed be better for the Icon Slayer to take this instead? To which she said, while he is indefinitely a hero, my name definitely holds a bearing in Limsa Lominsa, the name of Aeon. And that people, seeing that an Aeon is still a present, would put their minds at ease. I had not realized just how influential my father was in this port city of Lominsa. Excuse me, sorry. Caught a little bit of something in the throat there, sorry about that. Trying to see if I can find the cutscene real fast. Just gonna take the mic out for a minute, sorry.
The Garleans are another matter altogether.
So much for our alliance.
It's sunk beyond the seabed.
Brothers and sisters of the sea, hearken unto me. Look upon this, our mighty crimson standard, and tell me your hearts do not swell with pride. Yeah. 700 summers have come and gone since our forefathers first ran aground in this fertile bay. In that time, guided by the Mother of Oceans, Limsa Lominsa has grown from humble fishing village to uncontested ruler of the 5 seas and beyond.
Ah, yeah, ah, ha, yeah, ha.
Did you look as the Admiral bid you? It is a rather stirring standard, I must say. The crimson field is meant to signify the blood of fallen crewmates, while the black longship represents a pirate vessel.
When the Garlean Empire marched upon Eorzea, we assembled beneath the Maelstrom standard, and our grand company was reborn. All answered the call, from the Knights of the Barracuda to Hilthier's bloody executioners, and together we met our would-be conquerors upon the field of Cartano. That day, the world bore witness to the united strength of Limsa Lominsa. I swear to you no army ever fought harder or with more courage, yet many of ours did not survive. Join me now in remembering those who fought in the name of freedom and fell. May their souls be returned to the sea.
Freedom. Yes, they have always been rather fond of their freedom. Much as the beast tribes have. Small wonder. Beneath the surface, one would struggle to tell them apart.
It has been 5 long years since the calamity struck. 5 long years of tireless rebuilding. Yet still the wounds of the calamity fester and weep. But when I stand atop the mizzenmast and gaze out upon our battered and broken vessel, I see an undying spirit. Did we not build all this from the wreck of the Galadian all those centuries ago? Shall we not do so again? Yet there are those who would see this ship of ours sink beneath the waves of the restless Rotano. The Sahagin creep ashore seeking blood for their accursed god.
Those fishback
The Sahagin
bastards.
have risen?
While the mines of Ogomero spew forth kobolds who push ever south, despoiling our lands as they go. These savage beast tribes will be the first waves to crash against our creaking hull. And behind them swells the grim tide of the Garlean Empire. Even now the curs fly their flags within our borders. Doubt not, but that they will be upon us ere long. We are well nigh surrounded. Yet there are those among us who would rather turn their swords against their crewmates than our cannons against our foes. How can we hope to repel our many enemies when mutiny breeds below deck? There is but one course left to us. One bearing that will bring us victory over the beast hordes and the Empire both, and see this ship safe to port. We must mend the rift the calamity has reopened twixt pirate and maelstrom, and stand fast with our adventurer brothers against the coming tempest. Mark ye well. A crew without unity is no crew at all. 'Tis but a mass of drowned men. To me, then, brothers and sisters of the sea, gather beneath the undying crimson standard, and pledge me your strength, your skill, your wisdom. And with the guidance of the navigator, this great vessel of ours shall ride the waves, till sea swallows all!
Long live the Admiral!
Admiral
Gather the lads!
Oh, where's me cutlass?
I'll follow ye to the 7 hells, Admiral!
The Admiral's speech struck a chord with me. They were indeed the words I needed to hear, and they set me about with new purpose. Determination than ever to see where my father had disappeared to. Though thus far I have not met with any success, I am nonetheless going to keep searching for my father until I find him. Alfino and Alize were both present there at the ceremony. They said that they were curious on which the direction the alliances were taking. They had also asked what my business was there too. To which I said I was invited and summoned by Merlwyb, the Admiral herself. Which they had jokingly said if I was wishing to join as a recruit. To which I said, well, maybe not thinking about joining them right this moment, for I had other priorities to see to. To which Alfino gave a quite comforting smile and saying that I do, being one of a scions and all, which I was surprised by his response. To which he revealed to me, sorry I'm a bit winded here, just had to take some medicine while the cutscene was rolling, so I apologize about my voice here. It's kind of trickling off a bit. But Alfino had revealed to me that his father was the Honorable Louis Swa. His grandfather, sorry. And that it was his direction which formed the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. I was shocked. But nonetheless, I was glad to hear that Alfino and Alize were in support of this cause. To which I promised them I would continue to do my best to see that Eorzea had a bright future ahead of it. Alize was not too I would say, not in the best of moods. It seems that the Admiral's words were a bit off-putting in her mind. But whatever her reasons, I'm sure she would sort them out eventually. The next task I was given was to investigate Imperial activity, to which I gladly agreed to foresee this task, because I was quite familiar with the Empire, which had settled back in my home of Ulthard. So theirs was a familiar presence to me, to which the Admiral was very well glad to hear, and welcomed any knowledge I could provide her soldiers on the field. We were to rendezvous with the spy that she had placed in the Empire in eastern Lenosha. The spy possessed important intel on what the Empire was currently planning within Eorzea. They'd come into contact with this spy just outside of an Imperial stronghold. He had managed to sneak out when no one was paying attention. And thus went about sharing what he had learned. Apparently, there was a Imperial Legatus running a new campaign of domination here in Eorzea. The 12th Legatus, known as Gaius van Belsar. And it would seem that Gaius was acting wholly independently from the Empire itself, and that he had an agenda all his own. Apparently, this agenda of his involved the use of some form of new weapon. The spy, sorry, I'll clear my throat a little bit. The spy was not able to obtain any pertinent info on this new weapon. However, he assured us that it was something that may turn the tide on us. And so he said he would try to get as close as he can to finding out what this weapon of theirs was. I was entrusted with a missive to deliver to the Maelstrom Command's commander. Who happened to be on his way to Wineport as we speak. The commander, Enzar, arrived without incident, and thus met with me secretly to obtain the missive which I had. He carefully reviewed the contents of the missive. And stated that my task was completed. However, just as the commander was about to leave, some unwanted company appeared before us. The Imperials had marched themselves into Wineport. Myself, Enzar, and the few of the soldiers with us took cover. And decided to assess the situation before making a move. It seems the Imperials caught word that a spy was being harbored in Wineport and spotted frequently coming and going this outpost. Foreseeing that this was trouble, Enzar suggested that we wait, for I was about ready to jump into action. However, he advised that we wait for the opportunity to prevent itself. With these Imperials was a captain, status, a leveled Imperial officer. Sorry about my voice breaking off. It's kind of one of those effects of the medicine that I take. Kind of clears the throat out a little bit. So it kind of takes me a while to get my voice kind of back to where it was. So I apologize for that in advance. The Imperials were about to get serious, and that's when Enzar decided for us to jump into action. Using my stealth, I took out a few of the Imperials from behind, while Enzar and the other Maelstrom launched an offensive from the front. It was a pretty intense battle that we fought. The Imperials had summoned dreadnoughts to deter us. However, our forces still triumphed against the Imperials and forced them away from the outpost. Victory was ours for the time being. But we would rest assured that the Imperials may return, and so Enzar decided to station some of the Maelstrom as a watch in case another attack was imminent. Meanwhile, Enzar insisted that I return to the Scions. This, of course, I did. And upon my arrival, I was assigned a new mission. This mission involved our dear comrade Thancred. They had supposedly lost contact with our man Thancred. This news was a bit shocking and frightening at the same time. Minfilia was very worried. You could tell by the expression on her face, as it grew a bit pale upon the notion that Thancred may have been killed by an Osean emissary. I assured Minfilia, however, that I would make sure to find Thancred and see that he is alive and well. The last known location Thancred was reported to be seen was in northern Thanalan. I decided to pursue the investigation there in northern Thanalan on the whereabouts of our comrade Thancred. A witness had revealed to me that Thancred went to an area, abandoned mine area, up further north. I had to be very careful in this area here, for it was inhabited now by vagabonds. I had searched cautiously around this mine for Thancred, but there was no trace of him anywhere. I'd begun to worry. But then in the corner of my eye, I spotted something. Something glimmering. I decided to take a closer look. And what I found was one of Thancred's knives. Upon inspecting the knife, the crystal Heidelin began to speak to me in that benevolent and soft voice of hers in my mind. She said, "Hold out deeply onto the object within thine possession. Concentrate, focus, feel, hear, think," were the words she echoed in my mind. I began to concentrate very hardly with those words in mind. Hear, feel, think. And in a moment's eye, a flashback came to me as I drifted off. In this flashback, Thancred was here in pursuit of an Aeon. The Aeon in question had a name, his name being La Habrea. Apparently, this La Habrea was in northern Thanalan conducting a type of deal, you could say, within the mine here. This La Habrea's deal involved the shipping of crystals to a tribe of beastmen in Gridania. known as the Ixal, as well as shipments to be sent to the Amalja in southern Thanalan, so that they could summon their gods and bring wrath down upon the realm. Seeing through Thancred's eyes, he spoke, saying that he had to make sure the others knew right away. But, just as he said this, the Aeon figure appeared right from his blind side. The vision ended here, and with it uncertainty of what became of Thancred. This was quite a cause for concern. And I wondered what I would be able to tell Minfilia as I got back. So I ventured to make my way back to Vesper Bay. As I got closer and closer to Vesper Bay, I began to smell the smell of smoke, gunpowder, and brimstone. As I approached the entrance to Vesper Bay, there was panic in the streets, and people were fleeing. The brass blades in the flames stationed here were lying dead upon the ground. They were shot by bullets, to which I was quite familiar with, and I knew was indeed the work of the Empire. I heard familiar voices coming from the direction of the Scion's base. I immediately moved in, closer to investigate, making sure to stay out of sight of the Empire. And coming out of the entrance, I saw Minfilia, her arms bound, along with Papalimo and Urionje and Tataru. They were being taken away as hostages. I was shocked. And furthermore, I was wondering where was the Icon Slayer at a time like this? Was he not here before? Or was he killed by the Empire? These thoughts filled my mind. But there is no time to think about it. I had to trail the Empire who had Minfilia and the others. So I elected to follow them closely from behind in the shadows. Being very cautious not to be detected, they eventually arrived at another stronghold, a castrum, here in western Thanalan. I decided to infiltrate after them, making sure to take out the guard without any noise. I had to be sure to follow quickly behind them before the others were taken away, or worse. I halted near the edge of the cliff area, leading into a castrum. A bigger castrum, larger castrum, just off the sea coast. The white armored Garlean was speaking with a bigger armored Garlean. I assumed both were higher in command, as they spoke of their plan to use Minfilia for some purpose in understanding the gift of the Echo. I did not like the sounds of what they were discussing, especially of the woman in the white armor. Her intentions were clearly not for the safety of the others. This, I thought, was my chance, so I moved in for the attack. A few of their troops had mounted an assault up against me. But I fended them off with quite ease and agility. Minfilia looked back in shock that I was here to surmount a rescue. I was about to get close to her and the others, but then a fire shot came from the distance, and I had quickly dodged out of the way. The big armored man, Garlean, was deciding to bar my path, telling the white armored Garlean woman to go on ahead without her, and that he would foresee this pestilence, he called me. Sorry. I grit my teeth in anger upon this. But nonetheless, I decided to engage this bulking figure into combat. This figure was unrelentingly powerful and strong. Even though his strength was formidable, this bulky Garlean officer I was nonetheless able to keep up in the battle along with him. However, that evil woman, Garlean woman, brought about a threat, saying that she would kill her hostages unless I surrendered to them. However, Minfilia cried out to me, insisting that I leave this place, and that I was the hope, one of the hopes of the realm. She implored me to see that the dawn's light lives for tomorrow, and that she would definitely be safe. I did not want to accept this, however. But I was powerless to stop them all by myself, I realized. And that if I continued this fight any longer, someone would indefinitely suffer. So I took Minfilia's advice, and I fled this cast room. Regrettably, though it was, and feeling helpless about it. Before I fled, I promised Minfilia that I would find the Icon Slayer, and that we were both going to rescue them from the Empire. Deciding that I wasn't going to accomplish anything here in Thanalan, I returned to Limsa Lomensa, and I immediately requested to see the Admiral and reveal to her the grim news. To note, the Admiral was displeased to hear the bitter news. And to which also she pledged that she would devote as much resources as she could into finding which area my comrades were taken to. For this, I thanked her many times over. This was a great comfort to me, knowing that the Admiral had quite the support for us. She had also informed me that the Warrior of Light was within Lenosha a short while ago and was heading back to Thanalan. She asked if I wanted her to call him back, to which I answered No, let him see for his own eyes what befell at the Order. This may work to our favor and bring him the strength that we need right now. The Admiral concurred and decided she would tell the other Alliance leaders of what happened with the Scions. This was the best course of action that we could possibly take for the moment. Meanwhile, I would work alongside the Maelstrom and trying to gather intel on which castrum my friends were being sent to. And then a thought hit me. I remembered Alfino and Alize. I'd wonder if there was some way I could get in contact with them. However, the Admiral told me that Alfino and Alize were out of reach. So I decided maybe that was not the best plan. She did tell me, however, that Y'shtola should be returning to Limsa Lominsa shortly. So I decided to wait for Y'shtola here in Limsa Lominsa. We both decided to meet at the Bismarck Cafe in the Upper Docks. Y'shtola immediately arrived, although she was very panicked and frightened about the news she heard. But I nonetheless assured her that Minfilia and the others were still alright, but that we had sustained other losses within the Scions, regrettably. She assured me that she was just happy knowing that myself escaped in one piece, and also that the Icon Slayer is still among us as well. She informed me that she would be in charge of trying to contact Ida, who was in Gridania, so that they could proceed with further operations on what to do to help find and rescue Minfilia. Meanwhile, I would continue my efforts with the Maelstrom in searching for answers on what the Empire was up to. And also, while Y'shtola was there, I informed her of what happened with Thancred, to which she had regrettably... Sorry, trying to find the right word here. To which she melancholily said that we can only assume the worst case, loath though she was to admit such a thing. This filled me with some dread for a time. But I knew if Thancred was well and truly gone, that his sacrifice was not without notice, and that I would avenge his death against the Ossian known as La Habrea. When the time comes, of course. Alright, we'll call that a rest for this lore video here. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story series and that you'll continue to watch, for there's more to come. For the story of Amadeus Aeon is not yet over and is still ongoing. So please be prepared to look forward and view future videos. I'm sorry I kind of had a little bit of difficulties in between with my voice kind of breaking off a bit. It's the unfortunate case of having some sickness and whatnot, but I assure you I'm personally fine. It was just sort of a shortness of breath there, which I took care of now. So, again, apologize for that. But thank you again for watching this video, and please look forward to another video to come. I'm thinking I will continue this maybe on Sunday or Monday, possibly. It depends on how things are doing then. If I'm not experiencing any, problems with myself or problems with the game. Like I said, I've recently been having a few issues here with the game that I'm trying to get resolved as quickly as possible and in the best possible way that I can. So please be looking forward to this. And yeah, in the next video we'll continue on from the Realm Reborn story segment and possibly move into the Heaven's Word segment, depending on how fast I can get through all the information. There's a lot, but it is a story, so it can only be expected to be quite long. But I assure you it is a great story if you're into personal character history and lore, or even, role play, if that's something you enjoy doing in this game as well. I assure you that this is definitely the right kind of video series for you if you're into any of those things. And plus, you'll get from me just a little bit of additional information about Eorzea itself, as well as information pertaining to my character here. So, yeah, if you liked the video, please leave a like. If you want to comment what you liked, please feel free to do so in the comment section. If you like my channel, please feel free to subscribe. Along with this series that I do other series, and I make guides as well. Those are all on my YouTube channel here, and I also have a Twitch channel, which I stream a weekly stream on Twitch, which mainly involves, the weekly stuff that we do every week in Final Fantasy XIV, capping tomes, you know, doing the weekly raids, hunts, and, you know, all that good stuff. So, if you enjoy watching that kind of stuff, then feel free to check out my weekly Tuesday streams. This is on Tuesdays over on my Twitch channel, which is Amadeus Aeon 93 at twitch.tv. So please check that out on Tuesdays if you're into watching a weekly segment such as that. And I will eventually, I promise, get to the karaoke segment I have planned. It's, like I said, it's been very difficult with technical issues going on with the game and with my own personal health going down and up depending on, you know, depending on the week or the day. And that is all on my part. So I'm to blame for that side of things. I hope that you'll forgive me for that and continue to watch my videos. But again, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video.